Welcome back to the Rocket Refuel. Hopefully, you enjoyed the kickoff episode of this and enjoyed seeing our faces on the old YouTube. I'm Kyle W., executive producer of the Midnight Blue and Gold Launchpad, and I have with me Dan Rocketman Savage and
What's up? What's up?
Texas Nate Kresge.
How's it going, everybody?
I like the nickname. It's
Rolls
sticking.
off the tongue. It's nice.
Texas Rocket, Texas Nate. It works.
Finally got a nickname, so that's what counts.
That's right. That's right. So, like last episode, we're just going to roll into a little bit of an update for basketball for men's and women's, and baseball and softball. So, with that being said, we'll kick it off to Dan and get you some basketball updates.
Yeah, last week, right after we recorded, I think we got the actual podcast out the day after the Akron game, which was a big game at Savage Arena for the men for first place. And we played some defense. It was awesome. Held probably the MAC player of the year, Enrique Freeman, to 14 points. We kind of had him within reach most of the second half. We kept their best player outside of Freeman, Ali, also 14 points. He had 26 against us the first time. They were below 40% from the field, 26% from three. That was what I was looking for as we were competing for first place. Sonny Wilson had his breakout. I thought this was going to be, our game changer. He had 18 points. So we moved into first place after playing Akron. And we went down to Bowling Green 3 days later and fell on our face a little bit. Kowalczyk talked about the middle eight, the last 4 minutes in the first half and the first four in the second half. We did not play very, very good. Marcus Hill got us the first time for like 25 points. He had 31 this time against us. Rashawn Agee, their big man, he had a double-double, 12 and 13. So we just couldn't hang. The environment was tough. We played too many competitive games to get up for, I think, in a row. So it was kind of just like a losing spot. And so, you lose to your rival. We still took 4 out of 5 in the big three sports against them. So it is what it is. And then I thought was another bounce back spot after that. We had the limping Northern Illinois Huskies come into town, and we did not show up. It was crazy. David Coit for them had 27 points. They had 19 bench points with a hobbled roster. I think they only had like 7 or 8 scholarship guys on the team, and they outscored our bench with their bench. Moss had like 8 points and then was pulled and didn't play at the end of the second half. So I don't know what that was about. Might have talked something to the coach. But Cochran showed up. He was the one that kept us in the game. He had 27. His former team. He seems like he always plays well against Northern. We were 6 of 12 from the free throw line. Not going to get it done in MAC play against anybody. And it sucks because Akron and Central Michigan at the top of the standings also lost. So we had an opportunity to move up back into tie for first, and when we blew it at home. So first MAC home loss in 13 months, which is rough. And now they go to Buffalo, who is in dead last place. But we've seen that if we don't bring our A game or even B game, we can lose. So Saturday at 2, Buffalo Bulls on the road, beat them by 11 the first time. You got to get back on track heading into the last week of conference play. And then the ladies, on the other hand, had a great week and a half. They played a struggling Miami team. And although I don't think Toledo played that well, we basically doubled them up. We held them to 25.5% from the field and 17% from three. 12 Toledo players scored a point, led by 16 from Sophia Wired. So awesome game. And then that led into the pink out game. Biggest game of the year at Savage, probably minus the Michigan game and maybe Bowling Green. And we blew the doors off the Ball State Cardinals, 70-48. Both teams shot horribly in the first quarter. We were only up 10-6, but our defense stayed. Lost my headphone there. The defense stayed down pat the entire time. We held them to 33% from the field, 20% from three. And Sammy McConowitz had her breakout game of the year, 24 points. She had a nice little 6 or 8 point run in the fourth quarter where she had a 3-pointer and then a steal and a layup. And she blew the roof off of Savage. It was awesome. So now we're back in first place. And interesting too, like Cook played awesome. She had 10 points. Q had a 10. We were 100% from the free throw line against Ball State. Like that is winning basketball. Something I wish I'd see from the men more often. Just the little things. Always defensively sound. And then after that Ball State game, we took on Northern Illinois, who was a team who had beaten Ball State. So we knew that they have some players. Um, Both teams lit it up in the first quarter. It was tied 21-21 after the first. Honestly, like Wired played great. Nan, Q, they all had 14. Goss hit some threes, had 13 points. We were 12 of 28 from three, which is pretty good for the ladies. They don't usually shoot at that high of a clip. And we won the third quarter, 23-12, and that was what separated us. We won 74-61. So just consistently playing good defense. Teams aren't going to shoot the lights out every quarter. And now we're in sole possession of first place. We go to Western Michigan Saturday at 1. And they're near the tail end of the standings, but they play really hard. Caitlin Zaricki is their really good player, probably first team All-MAC caliber. She had 23 against us the first time. So we stop her. We probably win this game, but can't look ahead to the final week of the MAC schedule, unlike the men. Just keep playing good defense. So we should roll into the MAC tournament with the 1 seed. And now, since we are the automatic qualifier, the bracketologist for the women's side, Charlie Cream has us as a 13 seed, which is, it's weird because our net is 67, and that's not awesome, but I feel like our resume metrics are much better than that. We're 32 in the RPI, 32 in the power ranking. To see a team like Michigan get put into the field in Toledo, just be a 13 seed is pretty unjust, I would say, but nothing you can do. Just keep winning, and then hopefully we bring our great crowd to the MAC tournament here in a couple weeks.
I'm glad you bring that up, Dan, because I did watch the Northern Illinois game, and Toledo we're just so grateful to have such a huge fan base for our women's team. Watching that dismal crowd that Northern Illinois brought, I get it was a terrible outside midweek, but still, like Toledo will still fill up at least half. That was sad. So
yeah. Trisha mentioned that Q's family was there. She's from Missouri, I think. So okay. It's cool that they cut the drive in half. It was like a 6-hour drive or something, which it would be to Toledo. And yeah, you could hear them on the radio broadcast. We get about 30 to 50 fans there, and I heard them over all the Northern Illinois fans. So yeah, that's just MAC basketball for you in the middle of February.
I'm sure a lot of people who tune in would agree the announcers for ESPN were awful. So I know you turned on Jim.
Yeah, I gave it a minute, and I said nope. Yeah, I just synced it up.
I muted it. I just read I guess some of the captions, but I muted it and watched it. But yeah, I know you turned on Jim Heller, which is always a treat. So he knows his stuff. And I mean, absolutely. That's something you bring up with the rankings with the women's. We've talked with Trisha before, just like that whole process needs an overhaul. It's just it.
Well, like the RPI was the system for 10, 15 years. And so like, how could you for so long have made judgments based on that cut line, and then all of a sudden we're using something else and we're not even close? Like what? It doesn't make any sense. We're third in the mid-major poll. Toledo is definitely worthy of an at-large, say if they won every game and lost to Ball State in the championship game. But I don't know. We'll see what they do. I think Trisha is scheduled great out of conference, so we have a real we beat the Big 12 champ last year in the NCAA tournament. Like, we had a little bit of staying power and name brand, I think, to maybe put us over the edge if that situation came into fruition.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how it plays out with the MAC tournament, but the ladies are red hot right now, so no reason to think they won't handle business for that. So, all right, appreciate it, Dan. Awesome update. So we're going to roll right into Nate and talk about some baseball and softball.
Yeah, so last time we talked, baseball was about to start their season. They're opening up at a series at Mercer. Ended up losing that series 1-2. Opened up the first game, they won 5-4 in extra innings, and then lost the second game 5-2, and then dropped the third game of that series 13-3. So not the best series there. Then they went on the road again and played at Winthrop, and they split that series with them. Opened up the first game, lost 3-0. Then they had a doubleheader on that Saturday, the 24th, won 2-1, and lost the second game 7-2, and then closed out the series in Winthrop with a 7-1 victory. So overall, they are 3-4. Have a series coming up this weekend at Southeast Missouri State, 4-game series. First game tomorrow, actually at 4 p.m. And then a doubleheader on Saturday, and then a closeout game on Sunday. So busy next couple of days for them. And then have one game next Wednesday against Dayton. Then they open up MAC play against Akron. So should be pretty exciting for the baseball. Softball, a couple more games under their belt. I believe last time I talked, they had started the season 2-1, and then they had actually gone down to the Velvet Milkman tournament. So in that series, they opened up on Friday a 5-4 victory against IUPUI, and then they had a second game that day as well and beat Western Illinois 10-6. And then also had a second game that day. I'm sorry, I apologize. On Saturday, had a doubleheader and played Western Illinois again, beat them 3-2, and then lost to Murray State 1-2. And then they've closed out that tournament with a second game against IUPUI, and they lost that one 8-0. So it was also that game was, I don't know if it was due to weather, I'm not positive, but it was only a 5-inning game. It might actually be a mercy rule in softball. I'm not positive on that. But and then they start another tournament tomorrow, the Purple Classic, and they're open up against Pacific, and actually a doubleheader, Pacific and then Grand Canyon, and then another doubleheader on Saturday versus Montana and New Mexico, and they'll close out against Grand Canyon on Sunday. So another busy schedule for them, and then they'll be in California for the next, starting on the 6th through the 9th, they'll be in California. So they won't be home for a while.
Yeah, that's a good way to bookend your spring break is being in Phoenix and then California. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
It's a lot better than here where you're 70 one day and 28 the next day.
No
Absolutely
kidding.
All right. Well, thanks, Nate. Appreciate the update. And you might be right on that mercy rule. I know from my wife playing Wizards in high school, they wanted that tournament to keep moving, and there's mercy rules. So
Yeah.
I'm sure there's similar rules, but not positive.
Yeah, I think also like the fifth day of a tournament, you might run out of pitchers' arms. There might be just some kind of handshake agreement, like let's just get out of here healthy.
Yeah, it's too early in the season to be blowing through your bullpen and potential injuries too. I mean, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, boys. Well, I think it was another successful refuel here, and hopefully the fans like it. So, looking at a special guest next week for the main show. So definitely keep your eyes out next week. And we got the combine coming up. Quinyon Mitchell, obviously representing Toledo, potential top 15 pick. And I think he'll absolutely kill it at the combine. So a lot of analysts are definitely putting him on a must-watch list. So I think he'll have a good combine. So hoping the best.
And we have a new MAC member we can touch on the next podcast.
Yes. Who?
Welcome back,
UMass. Yes. So
welcome back.
That's a good point, Dan. We're growing.
Oh yeah.
All right, guys. Well, great episode. And one last thing. TOL.
EDO.
EDO.